documents and what their intended usages are. So under the driver's license, it states it was never intended for identification purposes. It basically is created by the government to say one had the authority to operate a motor vehicle on the public highways and byways. But because the lack of a nationality identity card, the driver's license has been accepted and as known as the nationality identity card. So again, the driver's license, if you show it and use it as identity purposes, well, then it is. But if you follow that rule 1028 under the Department of Justice, well, then you would know. And you should have. When we talk about traveling, when we talk about driving, and I don't have to have this and I don't have to have that, well, fucking prove it. Prove it. See, people running around with this misconception that you just don't have to. Well, you have to show something. And if your so-called government, if the so-called officials,
you don't have to show that. I don't think you have to show something though. You have to identify your at least your name, but from
so if the driver's
identify
license,
nothing to these de facto corporations. They're de facto. They're not for the people. We don't have to prove nothing to them. They
so if the driver's license,
the burden of proof is on the accuser. Everybody, hold on. Everybody, hold on. This goes back to, and again, this Zoom call was meant for whoever wants to discuss whatever. But Waribo, was on the call first, and so he brought up a good point that I'd like to call attention to. And again, it all involves the form of title. It really involves what form of title they're applying to whatever situation you're in. Because, look, I don't know, Tisha, you know me, my specialty is criminal cases. Traffic violations generally fall under that particular type of category. So that's my specialty is criminal cases. But it all does fall under form of title, and form means a specific thing, and title means a specific thing. So it really does depend on what they're calling you and how they're calling you. Like it's all based on kind of a capacity issue, really. Like, you know what I mean? Like Waribo was saying, part of the paperwork, Derek, part of your paperwork was under uppercase, lowercase, and then parts of it were under all capitals, and some of it was, you know what I mean? And every single bit of that relates to the form of title. Now, look, going back to what this other guy said, I believe it was, I'm not sure what your name is, but I believe you're in here under equity. Now, I've got a California state ID, and on the very back of it, it says, this identification card is issued solely as a means of identification. It does not establish eligibility for employment, voter registration, or public benefit. And the way I keep that form in my wallet is so that the first thing, if anybody ever grabs it from me, the first thing that it pulls out is that little, tiny little shit on the back that says that. And the reason I keep it in my wallet that way is because the first thing a cop will ever see if they decide to rip me off is the thing that says it does not establish eligibility for public benefits. Well, aren't the police a public benefit? So if the police are a public benefit and this identification card that I hold doesn't establish a public benefit, then why the fuck do you need it?
And if it doesn't establish a benefit, then how can it hold a liability?
Exactly.
Right, so you don't need it. By the way, my name is Joseph Campbell, not Equity. I thought that was the passcode to get in the group.
What's up, Joseph? I'm sorry. I
thought that was the passcode to get in there.
Chris,
hey, Keith, I know you're glad to have him on the call.
Chris,
that's my boy. That's my boy right there.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah, all right. No, I'm sorry. I didn't recognize you by the name Equity.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. Sorry to jump in like that.
Hey, Chris, you want to
Hey, I absolutely cognize you now. We're cognizant, yep. I will recognize you in the future, brother.
So there is under these definitions, and one of you guys brought up semantics earlier and the wordplay, and like I always say, people love to throw that up. Hell, I was with my family that I haven't seen in 10 years, and I like to educate people, and I use some of the words and what they mean and what language it's in, and legalese and law and religion, and they're like, "Oh, that's semantics. You're crazy. We'll see you in jail." And it's so as far as the words, I like to say that, "Oh, you're playing with the words." No, we've been played by the words.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The brother said it earlier. He said, "Yeah, well, they use semantics. Shit, we just tried to figure out how to dissect it and understand the differences." So when we're speaking of that, I'm getting to the point of identification and identity are not the same by definition.
Yes, a thing similar is not the same.
Right.
I'll have to get those definitions.
I need you guys' expertise.
Two different.
I need all three of y'all expertise. Y'all need to tell me what a fucking legal right is.
A legal right is nothing more than a privilege.
You took the words out of my mouth. It's a privilege.
Okay. So if a parent parental rights have been established, they taking the privilege of their children. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Listen, when they say look, anytime somebody qualifies the word right with some other word in front of it, like parental, that's a privilege.
Right.
Because a right is a right is a right. It does not need any qualification. When somebody qualifies the word right with any other word, that's a privilege.
What about unalienable or inalienable?
Well, you have unalienable, and both of the words.
That exception.
Well, no. There's a difference. You do have unalienable, and you have unalienable.
Yeah, you're right. Your freedoms as a natural man or woman are unalienable, because if we understand what the United States is, liens and buy all that shit, well, they cannot put a lien on your freedoms.
Yeah,
they're unalienable. And they cannot and your freedoms are unalienable, meaning they can't treat you differently because of your freedoms. You're not different because of your natural inherent freedoms.
And
rights are given to you, and rights can be taken away. Freedoms are inherent.
Hold on. I beg to differ. Privileges are that way. Rights are not.
You have the rights, or you have the natural freedoms.
Right. They can extort them.
A right to me is a natural freedom. Anything that can be taken away is not natural. It's a privilege.
So I call it, maybe I don't know, see it a little different. I just see rights as a given. You have the right. I'll give you the right. You have the right to remain silent. Or how about you have the freedom to remain silent? You have the freedoms. You have freedoms. They're inherent, unalienable. You don't get to tell me I have them or don't, because you don't need to fight for rights if they're inherent. You don't have to fight for them. You already have them.
Okay, I understand that, Joseph, but the thing about all is, if you have a mother that's in a court and they severed their rights, their legal rights, telling them they can't deal with what they produce or what they created, how is that a privilege?
They still only have rights to the name, though. It's just a confusion of being.
Right. That's what he's exactly right. That's the confusion of being. Are you what they say you are? Or whose child is it? Is it? I mean, not literally, but is it a natural child or a fiction of the state?
They only have.
Look, at that time, it must have been a fiction of the state because the state felt like they had.
Head east on I-95 North.
That absolutely goes back to the first point I was making, which was the form of title.
Yes.
Because everybody has a title that they can accept, but what form is that title in? You see that exactly goes to the point. What is the form of the title? Like, a title is not necessarily a specific thing. It has its own various forms as well. Like, that's the whole point. Is this illegal? Is this a child? Or is it your offspring? Or is it, every word you use means a specific thing. It's the form of title.
And you keep saying legal children, legal parent. He's right. That's a title.
Children.
Yeah.
Children's even one of those operable words.
So that could be rebutted. All that could be rebutted all day long, just on the fact.
Yeah, because there are no legal titles in natural law.
Yeah,
Right.
I get it. Okay, here we go. So that's
A legal title is driver's license. That's a legal title. You put driver in front of license. You put barber in front of license. You put esthetician in front of barber license. It's a title.
All they do is take out the word commercial. All they do is take out the word commercial.
So now I got to ask, what is equitable title?
You're right, Eric. You're absolutely right. That's all they do is they take out the word commercial. But if you put commercial in front of every single thing you think of, that's the real deal. That's what they're doing. Like, it's not what we're doing, but it's what they're doing. Right. It's commercial. It's all commercial.
An example.
So now I got to ask, what does equitable title mean? What does equitable title mean? Since we're speaking of titles.
It's all about substance and not form.
An example of an equitable title would be the birth certificate, wouldn't it?
No.
That's a
No, the equitable title would be the certificate of live birth.
Yeah, that's a receipt.
If that's even possible to have an equitable title.
It would be the receipt.
I'm not even sure it's possible to have an equitable title.
Did I just make that phrase up, or is that something anyone else has ever heard of?
I've heard it before that the birth certificate is your receipt for them receiving your equitable title. And that's what they're cashing.
Ooh, okay.
Right,
but
so the equitable title would be the title that came before the birth certificate. What is the thing with the birth certificate, the certification of the birth, what is that based on? It's based on the statement or certificate of live birth, COLB. That's the equitable, if there were an equitable title, that would be it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
That our birth certificate is only the receipt.
I could be wrong. Look, I've been wrong a number of times over the last 10 years. A lot of times.
That is debatable because that's the way
it makes sense.
When it
makes sense.
Is it the equitable title?
It makes sense.
The receipt to the equitable title. I read that it's the receipt to the equitable title. That's why you can't claim ownership because you don't actually have the actual equitable title. You only have a receipt that they received it.
Well, now you're getting into securities.
That's what I was getting to say. So why the hell is everybody so adamant on the birth certificate if it's just a receipt for something?
Because they're leaning securities. All those things are show you they all are charged into that shit.
Say that again?
Right.
When you go to court, like you're basically just witnessing against that title, like that title to your child. That's not even what I mean. They're just trying to tap your child's trust for services, children use services, monitoring services, anything that they can tap it for. They'll charge it and then make you pay it back.
Well, they're charging a trust because the trust operates in commerce, and only charges can only be brought in commerce. Look, I've told my clients this a long time, every time. Look, the business of the courts is law and legal stuff. Okay, that's their business. Okay, and that's fine.
And banking.
But business is universal.
In half a
And
mile,
I don't
take exit
care
8 for
whether
US 278 East.
Was that-
cookies or law or stuffed animals. Okay, business is business.
That's what you see.
And the reason for this is because at the end of every court day, the last thing the judge asks the clerk is
Take
there
exit
any
8,
business
then keep
before
right at the
court?
fork.
That tells you they're doing business. So I don't care if their business
Thank you.
is law. Well, I'm not doing law, man. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not here to practice.
So how in the hell can a business give privileges or take privileges?
Keep right at the fork.
Well,
we
because
acquiesce
of
in
your
refusing to be.
consent to the contract.
You're not supposed to know that there's offer and acceptance.
Continue on US
Yeah, back then I
278
didn't know
East
no
for
better.
5 miles.
I know better now, but back
The
then
only
I didn't know no better.
The only way you can be in court if it's not civil is commercial. I mean, or not. I'm sorry, not civil. There's a
Even if you're in court, the whole point I'm making is, look, and again, my background is criminal cases. I'm not going to say criminal law because I hate fucking law.
Yeah, that's right.
I've learned a long time ago to hate law because law is somebody else's business. Okay, but business is business. And the fact is, all business relies on obligations and liabilities. And that's universal. So if your business is law, then you better tell me how your business applies to me. Because I don't remember having any contract with your business.
Ask him for the International Maritime Admiralty contract.
There you go.
I didn't know that I saw. I didn't know about any International Maritime Admiralty contract.
Now we're going back to forms of title. You're claiming that I have business with you, but you cannot prove the form of title that you claim to have business with. And the reason for that is because I have never admitted to having that form of title. Can you prove that I'm a U.S. citizen? Can you prove that I'm a state national? Can you prove that I am subject and liable to that entity's terms of contract? Basically, which is what the statutes are. They're terms of contract. It's all boils down to contract and form of title.
So how do you apply the principle?
My person was created by the state of California. And so my person is subject to every single fucking law that California, whatever it is, ever puts out.
If you think
But
the person.
when did I become liable to that form of title?
Because you keep saying my person. My.
Well, okay, there you go.
The right to use the person you have a right to use. You have a right to use the name.
There goes them damn semantics.
You have a right to use
Yeah,
the
there
name.
they go. That goddamn schematic run by.
I love you so much. Yeah, you did it right, girl.
In common law, you're
Now,
supposed to
how do you distinguish the implication of you being the person or not? Who does the burden lie on? You just said, can you prove I am a U.S. citizen? And they would say, prove to us that you're not. So I always
There's a maxim that says the burden of proof lies on him making the claim.
Well, if you.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear all that. The burden of proof lies on what?
The burden of proof lies upon the person making the claim.
Isn't
Yeah.
that just
Okay.
Isn't that just according to
I'm
common
not.
law?
I'm not making the claim. Listen, I don't need to make the claim
All froze. Or did I freeze?
that I'm not a U.S. citizen.
Yeah,
Or
well.
I'm not States citizen.
I can hear you.
The person charging me needs to prove that I am.
Okay, so now,
But you have to report
let's speak on how tos, because a lot of people want to know. Okay, I hear you. I actually get it. I understand what you're saying. Now, when in the physical form in court, and you say, "Oh, I'm not a U.S. citizen," blah blah blah, blah, fucking blah.
I would never say that. I would never say that. I would never say such a thing.
Okay, so people want to know. This is my suggestion. People want to know how that literally works.
Okay. Well, here's my thing in court.
In half a mile, turn left onto Argent Boulevard.
Because other people are making claims that drag me in there. Okay, so if I'm in there, I'm asking questions because as means in the capacity of, and king we all know is sovereign, right? So I'm in the capacity of the sovereign when I'm as king.
Turn left onto Argent Boulevard.
So here's the thing. Here's my answer to that.
That name
if you're saying that I am liable to your obligations, then you need to prove the contract. Because all state statutes and all of their claims are made against state statutes, right? And any ticket or citation or anything you get is nothing more than one of two things. It's a demand for payment or a demand for specific performance.
Continue on Argent Boulevard for 4 miles.
Any one of those two things relies on an underlying contract. So, do you want me to pay you, or do you want me to specifically perform to your shit? And if so, where does my liability lie to your obligation that you're trying to push on me? You're trying to push obligation or specific performance. That's it. You're trying to say, I can't do this, or I have to pay.
I'm playing devil's advocate right now.
Yeah.
So, and this is just for the field. This is just for the field. Not really my questions because I already have my own pretty much answers. But what if, okay, you want me to perform, you want me to pay. Well, I'm not that, I'm not this. What if a judge says, okay, well, here's your Social Security application. This says you are. Now what?
Oh, that's a really good question.
I'm not familiar with that. I've never seen that. I wasn't there, so I cannot confirm or deny that application.
Social Security application.
Well, hold on, Keisha. I got an answer for this one.
Because the Social Security application says that you are it. We never went back in and updated the
You know what? Look, I don't hear that Social Security application saying nothing.
Hold on. I got an answer for this.
How can that damn thing say anything?
I gotta hear Chris's answer.
Okay, hold on. Just because I applied for permission doesn't mean that I need it.
Doesn't mean that you're the name either.
Exactly. Like, look, let me give you guys a perfect example. And for some reason, I set this thing for 30 minutes, and it's showing me that I only got 10 minutes left. So, if it runs out, I'm gonna try to restart it. So y'all keep in touch. But look, here's the thing. I don't know how it is on the federal issue, but in California, you need a food handler's card in order to work at McDonald's.
Yep.
Okay, that's a license from the state to flip burgers. Okay? I told you this before, but here's my example. I need a food handler's card to work at McDonald's, to flip burgers. Okay, that's a license from the state to flip burgers for the public. Now, if I go home and I have that food handler's card in my pocket, and my wife says, I want cheeseburgers for dinner. So I get on my stove and I make up some cheeseburgers. Now, do I need my license to make a burger at home? No, because I'm doing it in my private capacity. Do I need it when I go to work? Yes, because I'm doing it in a public capacity.
I get it, but when you're in court, you're not in the private.
Well, you done drag me into court. There's no way I'm going into court for anything other than to get a judge to issue a ruling on the shit I've already told a motherfucker 3 times.
But since they're not a judge, since they're not law, since it is administrative, since it is commerce, it's commercial, then yeah, bring your card.
The only way it can be administrated is...
Well, I'm not going into court on a criminal charge. I've already told every single one of my clients, I'm like, look, I don't know what you want to do, but personally, I will never go willingly into court on a criminal charge. And the reason for that is because the UCC clearly states course of performance outweighs written agreement. Okay? That means actions speak louder than words. Okay? Yep. So if I'm in court on some criminal shit,
in a quarter mile, turn left onto South Carolina 170
and
East.
if you drag me in there in cuffs, then nothing I say can and will be used against me because I'm there under duress, and therefore any contract I enter into under duress is unenforceable. I'll do whatever the fuck you want when I'm in court in cuffs and an orange suit. You done drag me to fucking
left
there.
on South Carolina 170 East.
I didn't do this willingly. I didn't offer my consent. Go fuck yourself. I do whatever the fuck you want at this point because I want to get out of jail. That doesn't mean it's enforceable because contract law clearly states no contract entered into under duress is valid or enforceable. So if you want to drag me the fuck in there, I do whatever the fuck you want. I'll kiss your ass, massa. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you again. I'm playing devil's advocate for some of the people. That don't get it. I was just watching
a video where a judge said that someone tried to, you know, block the judge, and the judge
continue on South Carolina 170 East for 6 miles.
Something's valid. I know I'm not coming in if I don't think the court has jurisdiction. I'm not showing up to court. And the only thing that I thought was, well, the reason that people don't just do that is because they know you're gonna come kicking their door and fucking with guns and take them at gunpoint.
Okay.
Why else would anybody go in?
So people think you can literally stand in front of a judge and recite the contract law, and he'll be like, "Okay, bye-bye."
No,
I don't care about all that because here's the thing.
You can say it's under duress, but if you're not going there kicking and screaming, then it's kind of just coercion. It's not actually physical where they're going to come get you. I guess it's kind of your choice. Like, do you want to take the chance of them coming up in your house? Because I already did it. They came up in my house. Like, I already sent paperwork back, refusal contract, called them on the phone, tried to just show up to the preliminary without getting arraigned. Like, I was just going to show up to the court date, speak. They wouldn't let any of that happen. They just came in and got me at gunpoint with a whole bunch, you know, a lot more officers, obviously, than originally planned.
Okay, that comes back to my point. You were under duress. So what contract in the entire universe? I don't give a shit if you're in Gambia, okay, or fucking Nigeria. No contract is enforceable under duress. It's not a contract.
So I hear that. A judge told my buddy, nobody forced you to walk in here. You walked in here yourself.
There you go.
How is it duress?
So basically, what you're saying is the only way to enforce under duress is
if you walk in there, then he's right. It wasn't under duress. If you walked in there. Now,
that's my question.
That's why I would never go into a criminal case, ever. They're going to have to drag me into court, and they have, and I've done this in my own life, in my own experience. I'm going to tell you straight up. They have literally dragged me into court, and I told the judge the same shit I'm telling y'all. The judge, I told him the same shit. I was like, well, I'll do whatever the fuck you want right now. Because I'm in handcuffs. I'm in an orange suit. You drag me in here. If you tell me that if I sign this piece of paper, you're going to let me out, I'll sign it. But is that really relevant?
Okay.
And the judge was like, nope, but sign it. And
that's
so
my
I did.
point.
And
that's
he let me out. And my course of performance was, look, they told me you're not allowed to leave the state of Oregon as long as this matter is pending. And my course of performance was, I signed the document, they let me out that night, and the very next morning I left and went back home to California. And look, every time Oregon tried that shit, I went home. I was within 24 to 48 hours, I was gone. And, like, look, they can kiss my ass. They can put out all day long, but they ain't gonna fucking extradite me because they know my course of performance outweighs anything I'm gonna write down.
Okay, so here's my point.
My actions speak louder than my words. You put anything you want on paper, but I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want, and they know it. They know it.
So here's my point. I hear you. I hear everybody. What I want for people to know is how to exercise those contract laws before even going into court. That's what I want people to understand. So I hear what you went through and what you did and what they can. How does one?
No, you're talking about
avoid.
Are you talking about like a conditional acceptance and discharge?
So that's what the people want to know. How, since that's what we have these calls for, so we can teach each other how to handle this shit.
All right, so you're talking.
Okay, well, let me explain to you.
Dishonor and honor.
I can't hear you. There's too many people.
Go ahead, Chris. My bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Derek. And mind you, this call might end in a few minutes, but I'll put it right back on as soon as I can.
Well, I was just saying about being in honor and being in dishonor. So it's my understanding if you hire an attorney, you're in dishonor because you're arguing. But if you ask them for bills or whatever that you're supposed to be able to settle, they're not going to give you any of that to settle. They're not going to give you any way of relief. So, you know, it's like, you know, then you get into questioning the cause of action and stuff like that.
Okay, let me get into that because I'm going to tell you something right here now. Courts one of the main things we argue about generally is jurisdiction, okay? And courts only have jurisdiction over two things: controversies and disputes.
In half a mile, make a U-turn at Davis Love Drive.
What the court doesn't have jurisdiction over is agreement.
Right.
So, and this comes back, and look, I'm not a Christian, I'm not a religious or spiritual person. I am a spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person.
Matthew 5. Oh, damn it.